said, can I please, there we go, Johnny and Joanna. I am so honored that you've come back, because I've got to say, I was the first call I think I had with Johnny, and I was starstruck because I in time travel book he had done. And I was like, as narrators, as fellow narrators, you will all know the feeling of when you're heroes, when you hear something and you're just so want to be able to do something that well, and then they actually contact you on social media or talk to you. So yeah, I was starstruck. And then I finally got the nerve to ask Johnny if he thought perhaps Joanna would maybe agree to come on a call, because Joanna is also as well known, but you also have a kind of a bit of a mystique about you. So whereas Johnny like clowns around, he's on social media clowning around and everything, Joanna's like, oh my God, is she going to say yes? So yes, I've gotten over my shyness. I think I've had you guys on 70, 80 times since then. And each call has been more delightful. And we've gone through, if you want to know about Johnny's and Joanna's past, I encourage you to look at the past calls. But for now, I want to catch up with where you are with, since the last time we caught up on Cup of Joe, the world has completely changed in our jobs. I'm assuming you guys have changed, and there's been a learning curve. And tell me about you now as opposed to Johnny and Joanna in 2018, well, before COVID and before everything.
Take it, Joe.
No, you take it. I will fine.
Pardon me. I will say both have allergies this time of year, so it's really
been a bad
yeah, it's just awful. So here's, I guess, for me, there's been a lot of, as we've gone through, I've been doing audiobooks and in this industry since the early 90s. I've been at it a long time, and I've watched the community grow and change and grow some more. And it's quite a large community now. And while the feeling of bonhomie and mentorship and of let's be there for each other is there, there's also a lot of negativity as well. And I have a hard time dealing with some of that. And I think, and I don't want to throw stones, but I will heave a couple rocks. A lot of folks come to this business because sadly someone said they had a nice voice, and they decide this is what they should do. And they don't understand it as an acting job. They don't understand it that it doesn't mean you have to graduate from Yale or anything, but with an acting degree, but it does mean you have to take it seriously as an actor. And I think the further away we get away from actors doing this job, the more problems we start having, both in personality and in performance. People always worry about, for example, AI. And I'm expanding this whole thing. One of the problems with AI is if you're not very good, AI is better than you. Yeah, well then, get better. One of the things I say is stop, don't suck. So if you can avoid sucking at all, you should not. And I think one of the problems is people, even I get coaching, Joanna gets coaching. And when I work with actors in sessions, or just work with them on work, I learn things all the time. And I think you've got to not stop learning. So what's changed for me is I'm looking at this industry a little differently with and I'm wondering, geez, everybody always thinks, gosh, it was better back then. I still believe there are a whole bunch of us who say, I had hardships in getting in my acting career, lots of roadblocks, lots of problems, lots of things to overcome. I still believe that there are many of us who've been at it for a while and have success who want to help others and not have them go through the same roadblocks. I want to make the road easier if I can. I want you to learn things, but I want the road to be smooth if at all possible. And I'm still into that. And I think some people aren't. And I have an issue with that. I have an issue saying it was a tough thing for me, so it needs to be tough for you. And I just think that's bullshit. And it's unfortunate.
But can I ask you a question about that, Johnny? And this is the issue I have. And I find myself helping a lot. And then I find myself, I've had people ask me if I would coach, but the reason I'm aware of myself. I think to be a coach, you have to be, because there's another element, and it's you have to be a teacher and you have to love coaching as well as your craft. The thing I have with coaching is I'll pour out everything I've learned. I'll pour it out, and I'll just know as I'm saying it that they're not ready to follow it, and that they're not going to follow it until maybe a decade later. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like I'm giving everything, and the person, they have to be ready to learn. I feel like they have to learn the hard way anyway, even if I tell them.
I'll let Joanna talk. I just want to answer that is we've all had that in our life, and everybody on this call, paying attention now or later, if you've studied acting at all or studied anything, you hear some wonderful nuggets of truth and wisdom. They don't all sink in. And sometimes down the road, I know I went through 3 years of, acting program, and I went on stage, and I've done stand-up, and all of a sudden you hear things as you grow and learn. And it may be 2, 3, 15, 30 years down the road, you go, oh, that's what they meant. So it doesn't mean, Daniela, that what you said to someone in that get-together is wasted air. It just means they weren't in a place to understand or accept it. Doesn't mean they didn't hear it, and doesn't mean it won't happen later. And because many people...
And right there, that's why I'm not a good coach, because I tend to then end the conversation with, you've got to do it. Pull your socks up. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, that's always helpful. Yeah. Yeah, I find it always helpful to yell at people online if possible. That's how you teach them. You thick-headed.
Which is why I don't charge.
Sometimes it's not that they're not ready, or someone's not ready to hear something you may have to teach, but it's because how you've said it. You can have 3 people tell someone the same thing, and they may go, okay, all right, and then someone else puts it slightly differently, and they go like, bulb, light bulb. It's just because someone else said it in such a way that it made more sense to someone. Because I know that's happened with me, where I'll hear something over and over and I'll go, okay. And then all of a sudden it's like dawn over Marblehead, and you go, oh, that's what these other 5 people meant. Now I see it. So I think that's part of the problem in coaching is if you're not the right coach, or the person and you are on a different wavelength, it's hard to get them to understand that you're trying to help, or what you're trying to help them with. I was going to say the thing that I think bothers me the most about coaching these days that's different is before people would come to me and say, well, especially if they weren't actors, can you teach me some steps towards acting or blah, blah, blah. And I'd be, sure, I can do I can give you an idea. But now one of the first questions a person will ask me is, oh, who do I contact? How do I contact them? How do I make this connection? And I'm thinking, you haven't even read yet. I don't know if you can, I don't know what you sound like, but you're trying to mine me for, or outright, can you recommend me to this casting person?
Yes, I get that. I get that like once a month. Yeah. Can you, people are taught that. People are taught this is how you get jobs. Reach out and get to know. But can I just say, Joanna taught me a lesson in one sentence, and you'll remember this. I was like thinking ahead, worrying, and you were like, in this breath, and now another breath, and now another moment, and now another moment, and that keeps coming back. One sentence, and it actually like changed my perception of everything for years. So it does only take like one sentence, right? Because that call where everyone was crying because Johnny coached someone. Did I ever tell you about this?
It doesn't ring a bell, but I made people cry. Yeah.
You coached someone, and another coach had told them to quit, and they'd gone to you. They'd already had a dream career that hadn't worked out. This was their second, and they had enough resilience to say, I'm going to chase another dream because I'm worth chasing dreams. And they had a coach tell them, sorry, you suck. I'm not quoting exactly, it's on a call, but basically it was that. And then James they said, I'm not going to call it out just in case I'm misquoting it, but I'll look it up and tell you. But he said after the call, he said something about like he didn't quite give up on the dream. And he said he went to Johnny, and Johnny worked with him. And he said, and I think it was like the highlight of his career moment, he said that he was said he was doing a part about like a creepy guy in a car, and that you paid him the highest compliment on, you know who it is? You paid him the highest
Yeah.
compliment on earth, saying that, and the entire audience was in tears, because that's, I think, the power of a coach that cares, right?
I think so. I think also the coaches you go, there's so many people who want to put up a coach's shingle these days. And it's fine. I mean, I don't think I even started coaching till people asked me to coach. I'd done 300 or 400 titles by then. People have done, 15 titles and they're ready to, tell you what they know. It's great. And people don't always realize, they don't investigate the coaches well enough to realize who they've got on that in front of them, who they're working with. I know you don't want me to call out chats and things, but I know my friend James Romick is on this thing. And,
Yeah.
I've known James for a long time, but I worked with him in a show. And I knew about his resume, I knew who he was, but I watched him work. It blew my mind. I have utmost respect for him. I still don't like him personally, but as an actor, as an actor, he's absolutely phenomenal. And I think if you know someone has that, and if they're willing to share how they got there, how they can do it, I think Joanna is fantastic, and if she's willing to share what she can do, share her methods, share some. My God, if it's not the right coach personality wise, so be it. But you can learn from a bad coaching session, and I just think you have to have some. You got to have some kudos, and not everybody should be coaching. And not everybody can be coached. It's as simple as that. But there are some wonderful, wonderfully talented people out there sharing what they know for not a lot of money. I charge less I charge people say, oh, it's too much money, but I make more not coaching than coaching. So.
But Joanna, but the thing is, it's what Joanna said is right on. Kind of doesn't matter that they're going to coaches that aren't really able to guide them the way a James or a Johnny or a Joanna can, because they're not going for that reason anyway. They're going because they want the business hand up. They want the social media pat on the back. And I'm just, this is one of those things that probably I would want to edit out later, but I'm not going to edit it out because I'll take from Johnny's advice. In my opinion, people with AI, and don't get me wrong, I'm a tiny bit obsessed with certain parts of AI. I am not one of those people that's like, I'm not touching it because it's ruining our lives. I'm not afraid of technology, but I think that the antidote is, and I swear I've heard one of you say this, or both of you, is to be so damn good you're undeniable. And you don't get that by getting a coach that's been in the business for 6 months and it's going to teach you how to get contacts.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. And also, if you're out there listening to some of this, just because you may have worked with Joanna or me or anybody, don't just automatically. You can say in your reach out to publishers and cast people, I've been studying with so and so, but don't say you've been recommended by so and so. I sometimes get somebody, hey Johnny, I got a message from. And they said, you recommended them. Did you? I said, absolutely not. Because I'll be honest. And then you look really bad. Because, if you're bouncing my name around, Joanna's name around, and we didn't say, okay. And also, I can't recommend there's some people I think are fantastic. I can help them and I'll try to help them, but I'm not recommending everybody because my recommendation now has no power at all.
Yeah, if you recommend everybody, then.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of tacky too.
Yeah. There's, I'm not sure that, how do I say this? I sound like an old curmudgeon. I'm not sure that people care about being tacky at all. I just think there's a different outlook at the world these days.
You're right.
If I can get ahead by stepping on you, I'm stepping. And I just think, and that's just too damn bad because things come around, you never know where your next job is coming from. And I've gotten work because I've been recommended by somebody, and people have gotten work because Joanna and I have recommended them. It just goes both ways, and you've got to be politic about what you do. And a lot of people simply aren't. And by the way, that's as close to politics as Joanna said. I'm not supposed to talk about politics in this call, but I've got a lot to say.
Oh yeah,
Later.
we don't even want to get me started on that.
Yeah.
So the thing is, though, I had an experience. We were going to do this call on a Tuesday, and you got a late night thing saying, "Oh my God, I signed up." I literally had signed up for this like workshop in the middle of the morning one night, thinking the dates were right, and I paid for it. It was a voiceover thing. It was, and I love the teacher. I have tons of respect for the teacher. It was a voiceover thing, but I thought I can learn because I want to learn outside the box. I take acting classes. You do other things to learn anything you can to find your way in. I ended up not going because of a string of emails with like the assistant and everything. I ended up not doing it after all and just writing off the money. And it's, I think, the sixth time I've done something with the VO industry as opposed to audiobook narrators. And I did think to myself, it's a big industry, but there's still a hardcore group of audiobook narrators. And it's true what they say, that are like the kindest people in the world. There's something special about audiobooks as opposed to, I found it in actors. I won't lie. I loved my fellow actors with all my heart and soul. And I found that in audiobooks. But voiceover, I find business. I find LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Well, I've always said that there's the voiceover world there's all kinds of genres, and a lot of people step from one to the other. I mean, I still do commercial stuff. I do other stuff, but my audiobooks, let's be honest about it, is not the biggest ocean to swim in. It's perhaps a small lagoon. And there's but for me, and I think for Joanna, it checks a lot of boxes. The only thing, because you get to play different roles, share the author's truth, you get to perform, you get to do things, you get to read, you get to share literature. The only thing I don't get that I really like is the immediate response.
Feedback.
I'm used to I want an audience response, and it isn't there. But other than that, it checks all the boxes. It's not the most lucrative. I make more money reading an article for Apple News than I'll make in an hour or two than I'll make a 10-hour book. But I happen to love it, and I think there needs to be a love for it to understand it. I'm talking too much. I'll join you. I'm yapping too much.
No, I love that you put your finger on it. I didn't realize that though, Johnny. I'm interrupting you again, so I do apologize, but that's the difference. And that's, I think, the element that makes me love the actors I knew and the audiobook narrators, both professions. You're not in it for the money, not the ones
If I wouldn't get any money, I probably wouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
I'm not. There's a lot of books.
That's why the voiceover. the voiceover is more about money.
Need more money for. Yeah. There's I mean, here's the deal. The SAG-AFTRA has worked very hard at making sure there's a living wage. Now, I know there's other voiceover groups that are effective and doing good things, but it's SAG-AFTRA that's negotiated the wages that we live on, that give us the insurance. And almost every audiobook publisher, almost, not all, it gives you a reasonable living wage, after SAG minimum, even if they're not after SAG signatories, because that's how the business has grown. When I started in the business, Audible out in New Jersey, a big company, wasn't given way. A lot of companies, not just them, a lot of companies hiring who they could, given what they felt like they want to give. It didn't become unionized and under the union umbrella till further on. And now that it's there, it's you can make enough. You can pay your rent, you can pay your mortgage, you can put your kid, all that stuff. And that's, gosh, this isn't just the days of, hey kids, I've got to play and my uncle has a barn, let's go put a show on. And those days are over. You got to get paid you've got to get paid for what you do. And if you're going to get paid, then you're a professional. So you, whoever you are, need to be a bit professional about what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? 10, 12 years ago when we all went on strike against one of the publishers to try to get them to go union.
Oh yeah.
So it hasn't really been a union job for long, really. It was that
Yeah.
recorded books years ago had a union contract. And that's because the woman who ran recorded books at that time was pro-union, and she made sure to get a union contract. And that was back in the 90s, maybe?
90, yeah, early
And they were
90s.
the only ones. Everybody else could, well, here's $50 and, do the book.
It's $50 and the other half of my bologna.
Yeah.
Off you go.
Actually, if anything, the thing that bothers me the most
Yeah.
from 2018 to now is the total disrespect of the union on so many levels that, if I want a banana today and the union's telling me you can't have the banana until tomorrow, there'll be a whole diatribe on social media about the union this, the union that. They don't listen to us. They're listening. Things take time. Change takes time. And I think that's what disturbs me the most about how things have changed, that the union becomes a scapegoat for everything, just everything.
We sound like old fuddy dudds, but there's a whole crew of I want it now. The I want it now folks are difficult to deal with because, you may have an immediate success.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful.
And that's great.
As long as you continue to strive to be a better actor. I know people who are perfect for the books they do, but they can't do the next book because they were the role, they were the role. And part of acting is playing roles that necessarily aren't you, and I just think that there's room for all of us in this industry. There really is. But I think everybody coming into it and everybody in it now needs to get continued. Like Joel Frumkin just had his audiobooks at sea.
Cruise.
Super popular and super wonderful. And I kind of want to go. Joanna doesn't want to.
Not because of Joel or anything.
Oh yeah,
I'm not big on cruises.
Yeah.
This is in general.
A boat in the middle of the ocean with no land in sight.
Yeah.
I watched too much Love Boat as a kid. I think it'd be amazing, but
yeah. Have you seen Dr. Odyssey yet? Yeah, that'll get you off boats.
I haven't seen it. So.
It's horrible. Apparently it's going to be re-upped. Every show I like, it's canceled. Anyway, so the thing is, there's all these fun things. Like I'm doing my New England retreat in October. Joanna and I do, and that's fun. There's all kinds of things. But outside of these big get-togethers, there's one-on-one individual coaching. And you don't have to coach with me, you don't have to coach with Joanna, but if you haven't done coaching, you should. You just should, because particularly in this business, you're alone in a booth, you and a script. Sometimes it's nice to get that extra set of ears on you just to talk to you.
And your brain can do awful things to you. Your brain can, I don't care who you are. There is that little ego there, and it's just looking for a reason. I don't care who you are and how long you've been doing this. Does it still get you guys every once in a while, or are you completely immune to it? Because you've got good mindsets.
Rephrase that.
The ego, the am I not doing well? Is it going to be a dry spell? Is it that ego? Am I any good? Was I meant to be an actor? Should I just pack it in? That ego.
That's like the actor's dilemma. I knew a guy years ago. I'm not going to say his name. He's a big character actor, and he would be in a movie, and you'd say, "Oh, Billy Bob, whatever his name was," because I'm not going to say who he was. He would say, "Yeah, that was great, but I'm never going to work again. I have an audition in a week," and you'd look at him like, what? And a week later, he'd have an audition, and then in a month, he'd be on a television show. He was constantly working, always, still works till this day. Yeah. And he'll always say, I'm never going to work again. That's it. You're going to find out I suck, and that's it. And it's not true.
The only career on earth you can be always too busy and always unemployed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the fragile ego of performers that we always think, they're going to find out that I'm fake. They're going to find out that I really am awful. It's that that's part of, I think, the creative thing, this thing that you feel that
it's somehow... like when everything you do and your total worth is tied up in the validation of someone you've never met.
Oh yeah.
That leads to some ego issues.
50 people say that was magnificent. And then the one person went, that's what you remember.
Well,
that's part of the acting.
Think of all the people who complain, I got a horrible review, and you go look, and it's like 90 great reviews in one person. That sucked. There's a chunk of time I did a bunch of books. I mean, more than I've ever done in like a 2-month period. through December and January. And then I think it was in February, I didn't have anything at all. And I said, well, and I thought, well, I guess I'm done. And, I thought, well, all right, let's start thinking, what do I want to do now? So, I guess breakfast came to
I do
mind.
that once a week.
So then the idea, then all of a sudden, but I am not aware, and nor is anyone else aware of what's happening in the world of the publishers and the rights holders who are thinking, I want to use Heller for this. I hope he's available, but they're not going to get hold of me for another couple of weeks. You know what I mean? So I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you do an audition, I don't know who else auditioned. Like if you audition for a commercial from your agent or on your own or pay to play, whatever you did, you have no idea how many other voices are up for that, how many other people are up for that job. And you hope that whoever making the decision will listen to 50 people, and they may, but there's probably 500 people who sent shit in. So so you have to be aware that you don't know what's going on. Your career isn't over until you end it. No one else can end your career. Nobody. And when I was worried I'm not going to get any work, books came up. One of the things I recommend you all try to do as much as you can, try to get Lit RPG. Try to get those, because those are series. And the guys and gals who write those write a lot. And they just take, so if you do book 1, I promise you, there'll be book 21 if you keep going. So though, if you get a series, that means you're always going to have something. You just don't know when. But you can't say, and I've auditioned for things and people say, I audition all the time. And I don't get every job, but I don't get it. I get, sorry, Johnny, they went a different direction. My normal response is they chose to make the wrong call. Somebody, because I think if you didn't hire me, you made a mistake. But that's me thinking about me. The fact is, you don't know who's thinking about you, and you don't know what the next job's coming up is. And because this is, you can audition for something you want, but in the meantime, you don't know. James Romick does not know. Sherry Galper doesn't know, who's thinking, I want Sheree for this thing, but I don't know. I'm not done writing it yet. So she may say, oh my God, my career is over. Then in June, she's got a 3-book series that she didn't know was there. And that's what this industry happens all the time. All the time.
But somebody told me there's it's like a whole philosophy written by some Russian guy called transurfing. And basically I know it's something. The only reason I looked into it was because it said it was time travel, and then I got a little.
Did you get transurfing?
Transurfing, TRANSUR. So basically, the theory is that the world's made up of pyramids, and anything can be a pyramid. Like your office place can be a pyramid, and it's a collective kind of energy and mindset. So AI is a pyramid. So all the people worried about AI and on social media about AI, and you can choose to join into that pyramid and comment and get upset about it and make it part of your reality, or you can choose another pyramid, the group where nobody's getting any work anymore. What's happening to all the work? Is it just me? I'm the only one out here and then everyone chimes in because nobody else is working. That's a pyramid. But the thing is because all the people that pile on, and social media does this a lot, it makes it worse because you're creating it. It could just be a little thing, but because people want to be part of the herd, we're all agreeing. And that's what I'm getting a little, you can't go anywhere without the collective AI's out to get you. We're all going to be unemployed. The world's coming to an end.
Social media should be the greatest thing ever to happen since the invention of cookies, but it isn't, because it's so abused and abusive. The powers that be can control what's being said, how it's being said, and people. But the thing is, it's right now at this moment in time, it's a necessary evil in this business.
That's true.
I believe, but you have to be careful about what you say, how you say it, where you go. I mean, Joanna and I have been, particularly me, been very outspoken, for example, for years, politically, very outspoken. And some people say, geez, does that cost you work? Yeah, but it also gets me work. But there's nothing, if you take and one of my lessons, and this is important, is never, ever, 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 ever post anything or send anything late at night when you're super angry and or super hammered or high or anything. Just don't, go ahead and be super hammered. Go ahead and be super angry. Go ahead and be super.
We're on a diet.
Yeah, we're on a diet. Yeah, or ravenous and angry. No way to post, young man. Yeah, so because angry. Because what you say, that it never goes away. It's there forever, forever. Yeah. And when you run for the I was about to say when you run for the president, you can come back to haunt you, but apparently that's not the case.
Yeah,
I slid that right in there.
Also, I've done burlesque. After that, you just kind of like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've all grown up and we've all done stuff we're not proud of. I mean, but the thing is, there wasn't a record of every damn thing I did.
Yeah,
most people don't remember half the. I don't remember anything I said. So but now social media means it's there. So you've got to use that. You've got to use it as a tool instead of being yourself a tool.
And make your own pyramid, because the AI, ever since Joanna told me about that book she narrated about TikTok, I just can't stand it. I just don't want to be on it. I got off it. But there's these nostalgia videos on Instagram, POV. It's 1982 and you woke up on a day and you don't want to go to school. And they're so real. I'm sorry. I can look at those things for hours. And there's a thing called retro future AI on YouTube.
Retro future AI?
Retro future AI. And there are these videos, in the 50s, or future retro, I think it is. In the 1950s, they have that idea of what the future would be like.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh.
So this is like a weird AI world where there's like robots and people in this like 1950s future world Technicolor. It's such a trip. It's like drugs for the brain. But I'm afraid to talk about any of that because I'll be like burnt at the stake or something.
Well, it's here. I always was worried about getting older and being perceived as older, so that there's a place where you are in the world after X number of years of experience where no one gives a rat's ass about your experience. You're just an old guy talking. It's like you clearly don't know what it's like to be us, even though I was you. It's like, and I didn't know. I don't know when that happened, but I'm like, I start realizing I really, really kind of disrespected mom and dad. I had forgotten they had been teenagers when I was, what I mean? All that stuff. And you forget a lot of what we can share because we lived through it. And it doesn't mean our experience isn't relatable anymore. It just means no one wants to hear us because, we say laugh out loud as opposed to LOL because we have that kind of time. Yeah.
And also because people don't want to, it's the same, what did we say earlier? People don't want to hear the lesson until they're ready for it. You wake up and your body hurts every single place and people are looking at you like you're someone's grandma and suddenly life sucks. Tell me, then you're like 20-year-old fitness people telling you how easy it is to like, but it's like, honey, wait till you're 40.
Wait till
stuff. But Joanna, half the lessons, because Joanna said something about publishers hiring. I see, I quote Joanna too much, and I'm cautious. I don't want you to think I'm some weird stalker.
Too late for that.
Quote you like, but you said when we were talking about publishers hiring and age and everything, and Joanna had a very good point that a lot of the casting directors are young, and subconsciously people want to hire people like them.
Yeah.
So, people want to work with people like them. You can't blame them.
Yeah, that's part of the deal, though. There's an understanding among those younger casting directors as they learn and grow and stuff. They find out there's a whole world of different age people in different groups, and they start meeting other people. Like I applaud the idea they're always looking for new voices and new people. Yeah. I think it's wonderful. But think of how many books are written. we're never gonna, unless we suddenly are unable to perform for whatever reason, we're not gonna age out of this. We're not, as long as I can still, sound like I sound, I'm gonna work. There's always gonna be work for every single one of us if we're good at it. Because there's,
Did I tell you I contacted my agent because my plan has always been to get back into film when I'm old, like when I'm like 70 old, because the women on Woody Allen's movies, they make a killing. All those women, they were on The Cocoon and everything because they're like, all the competition is dead. And I always said that I'm going to get back on stage. It's like, that's my business plan. You guys laugh, but I'm completely serious.
that's your
I've
business
started
model.
going back on my spotlight.
The thing
I'm
is,
going
the
to go
business
into
model is
acting.
between 30 and 70, though, there's 40 years of without a business model that you
I'll just do
think.
audiobooks till I'm 70.
And then get ready for
I'll let my hair go white.
I've got to tell you, Woody Allen won't be making films when you're 70. I'm just saying. He's
Oh
not.
yeah, but I'm gonna be the smartest, quickest old lady, and I won't have to compete with those skinny 20-year-old blonde girls in LA that I had to compete with when I was there.
Linda Lavin, who just passed away?
Oh, yeah.
That's a career. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. And she what's a thing? Mid-century modern or something. It's Nathan
Yes, I
Lane.
watched it last night, and she was like gone.
Fantastic.
I was so depressing though. Don't kill off people that I love.
She didn't kill her off. She just died.
She died.
Yeah, but it wasn't their
I
fault.
know.
Yeah, I blame her entirely for the whole thing.
I think
Yes.
she died after, she suddenly died after their 6th episode, and they took a few weeks break, and they had pieced together other episodes, and then they did that tribute episode.
Yeah, she knew.
She had been recently diagnosed with lung cancer.
Yeah.
And I think that by the time they discovered it was too late.
And she was still doing the show. She knew it was coming.
She was, in fact, I read.
Oh, I find it depressing.
It was not depressing.
No, the episode where she dies was actually some of that was incorporated from what she was talking to her husband about just before she died. So she kind of had an ability to get the writers to write her death the way she wanted her death written, which is kind of cool.
I don't think it's depressing at all. This Western view of death as an end to all things.
I have an issue with it. I do. Ever since that John Ritter episode, I never recovered from that one. And I didn't even watch that show much.
Yeah, do you remember the producers, the movie The Producers, and Dick Shawn?
Yes.
He died on stage doing a comedy bit about dying on stage. Literally, that was his bit. And in the bit, dying on stage, he died on stage. Are you telling me that's not the fucking perfect way to go?
If you're a comedian,
that's what I want. Well, not right now.
I do love the comedian. Who's the comedian? I love him. I can't remember his name, but he has on his tombstone, I told them I had a headache. I can't remember his name. But that's like the perfect. You guys, I want to take a brief pause. People have been really engaged in the comments. I want to make sure we don't miss if anybody has a question.
I told you.
James says, what does Johnny say all the time? Just don't suck. Sherry says, I'm waiting to be insulted publicly by Johnny, then I'll know I've made it. James says, if I recommend any actor to the people in the back of Phantom, it was like the kiss of death. Joan Covino says, so much comes down to relationship building and doing the work before reaching out. Self-direction is one of the most difficult things in the world, from James.
Yes.
It was amazing. Sherry says the cruise was amazing, but audiobooks at sea was a fabulous experience. And Melissa says, so glad we didn't have social media when I was a teenager. I have a feeling Melissa would have gotten in a lot of trouble. Yeah. And they're all sexy. Business plans outlive the competition. Oh yeah, that's it. And we are caught up. Okay. What is on the front of your mind? Tell me what burning thoughts you have. Tell me 5 things that just 5 words. Describe your life right now in 5 words, each of you.
I think that'd be impossible without getting political. So I'm not sleeping well. That's not 5 words. I'm not sleeping well. I'm sleeping well.
Insomnia.
Insomnia, yes. A lot of it is because of what's going on in the world. So there's that. That's forefront in my mind right now.
Do you watch the news? Do you ingest a lot? Do you take a lot of news in?
I read, yeah, I read a lot of news. I don't believe in corporate media. So I don't watch MSNBC. I canceled my Washington Post. I canceled the New York Times. I held on to just to do crossword puzzles, and Johnny gets their sports edition. So I kind of live on Substack. That's my new thing. I constantly look up stuff on Substack and then scream at him.
Do you watch, where does Johnny get his news? Where do you watch?
What's that, love?
Where do you get your news? Do you watch? Do you read?
I mostly look at, since the recent calamity in United States politics, I tend to look only at headlines, and if it interests me, I investigate a number of news sources so I can maybe get some truth out of it. I tend to, as Joanna does, I look at Substacks, individual reporters that I have some respect for. I've tried to, I used to be a news hound and a political junkie, and I try to stay much further away from it because it negatively impacts my world to be I'm absolutely gobsmacked and heartbroken, and that's no way to spend all day long.
No,
so
basically.
I try to, Sherry,
I'm not interested. Did you see Sherry's post?
Yes, yeah, I did.
I'm not. I get my news from Johnny's Facebook posts. Is that a bad idea?
No, I'll say regarding that, a lot of people do appreciate. I try to bring some humor out when it's there, or try to find it if I can.
We
Because
all appreciate it.
for me,
We all appreciate it.
The most important thing in my entire universe, above everything, is humor. Plain and simple. That's what I think I'm on Earth for. That's what I respond to. That's what I give out. Humor, hopefully with love, but that's what I'm about. And it's a little, it's sometimes hard to make the joke when the seriousness of it is a wee bit off-putting. There's.
But I'm going to interrupt you, but this is very important for me to put in here. Every single post, and I'd not even listened to you before I started seeing your slightly political posts. The thing that's wonderful about your posts, I used to love Bill Bryson's writing, because it feels like after you can rant and say anything you want. And then at the end, I always imagine, but Johnny says it's going to be okay in the end. There's always a feeling from Johnny that it's going to be okay in the end. And it's reassuring. And I think that's the humor that you have. I don't think you can ever get that wrong, no matter how dire the situation is, because you give us a feeling that there's hope, whether somebody agrees or disagrees with your politics.
I hope that's true. I think of myself as a humanist, meaning I have some hope for the human race. I think that we are generally abysmal, but I think there are enough of us who are our better selves and find our better selves that we should rise to the top. I just think, you look through human history, it's all repetitive. We've always been horrible.
It's like fashion.
Yeah,
it comes in, it goes out.
Yeah, which is why I never change mine. Every 7 or 8 years, I look fantastic. It's the intervening years that I'm no good. Joanna's a fashion.
You can always say that you were the trendsetter because you were wearing it before everyone else.
The only time I ever get any compliments on the outfits, on the clothes I'm wearing, is when I'm wearing stuff Joanna bought me. I have no sense of fashion. I'm t-shirts, jeans, and shorts. That's it, and everything else.
Well, Joanna's like the total cool New York girl, though. So that's
really
you're not wrong following the style. Okay, Joanna,
we're the same.
Well, I actually cut Joanna off. I gave her one word, insomnia, and then I need 4 more words to describe your life right now.
God, I don't know. I guess mostly I'm trying to look to the bright side for stuff. And I'm also
hopeful.
I And also I'm looking for, not quickly, but I'm kind of piecing in my mind different things. I don't know if this is where I want to end up career-wise. So I've been thinking more in terms of maybe it's time to go back to stage. Maybe it's time to go back to film. Maybe
Yes,
it's time to.
you can be a 70-year-old actress like me.
Maybe it's time to go back to writing. So, you know, I've kind of got a couple of storylines going on in my head. And so that takes away the pressure of, well, I should be, you know, sending an email to this person, that person, the other person. And, you know, if I don't have a book next week, does that mean I don't exist? No, there are other things I can do. I did things before I was a narrator, and I'll do things after. So I think that's where I'm at these days when I'm not being politically insane. I'm thinking, well, what do I want to do next? So there's hope there if I'm thinking about there's a next. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Please look at the bright. I am I'm always looking forward to cake.
Wait, it cut you off at the punchline.
Me?
Yeah,
I'm
I
always
couldn't hear
looking
what you
forward to
said.
cake. I said cake.
Cake. Who's looking forward to cake?
That's
So is that one of your 5 words describing your life right now?
well, cake desire. That's 2 words. Okay, no, leave cake alone. Cake is fantastic.
Insomnia, hope.
And insomnia, hope. You know what's important?
Change.
Dreams too. You're always chasing a new dream, which I think is fantastic. Constant. There's a constant. The chasing the dream is super important. It's who we are. Now we don't. None of us punch in clocks, and most of us don't anyway. Punch in and geez, hang around the water cooler. We're all chasing dreams. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
I think keep track of that. We are dreamers. Of course we are. There's nothing.
That's why we're all so young. That's why we all look as amazing as we do, and we keep young. Well, I saw my father the year before he died, and he was always, he had a different obsession, hobby. He always had 10 friends at the dinner table every night for hours. But one of his last friends had just died, and you could tell the spirit was like, he was like giving up. And I remember that vividly, that we have to, and I met with a creative coach for the acting side of things. And I told her, I said, there's 10% of me that has this like energy. I would leave the house, I'd be like, how many people can I win over? Smile at the first 5 people. I used to walk up the halls of school, and I was gonna own the crowd. I just fooled myself. And only 10% of me has that. And the other 90%, I told her, was like worried and working and fat, and how did I let myself get? And she said, when was the last time you were the 10% person? And I said, well, like this morning before the call, I was thinking about things I could do. And she said, can you do that for like 11%, 13%? And I got off the call with her, and I did an audition. Didn't get the book, I don't think, but the publisher actually sent an email saying, wow, that was a great sample. And it was because that energy, we're born with it. I think we have to hold on to it, and we have to use it, like literally remember it and use it. And because there's always that 10-year-old inside us, isn't there?
Yeah. And you need, Daniela, what you said is brilliant. You need to associate as much as possible with other people who share your dreams and who give you the positive. I don't want yes men around me, but positive feedback is not a yes man, sharing the dream and helping me and sharing that kind of thing. Hang around those people. There's so many don'ts and so many doubts and so many negative people out there. Don't make those guys important in your world.
Yeah. It's up to each of us what we focus on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
If I'm going to get my news, Sherry jokingly said, should I not be getting my news from Johnny on Facebook? Honestly, if I'm going to be getting my news, I would do worse than getting my news from somebody that wants to put a little comedy in it. And I at one point, I was filtering out everything that made me feel bad. And I realized I literally had one Greek lady that wrote a book that I did that's amazing. I love her. And like an old relative. And like Anna Clements left. And that was it. Because I snoozed everyone that talked about things I didn't want to think about. But, do it if you got to do it.
It's hard sometimes to realize the people you're with aren't the best people to be with. And you don't have to, break up with them. It doesn't mean anything violent. Just try and surround yourself with people who actually like you for who you are and who you want to be. And but also recognize sometimes the things you want, the things you dream for, you may not be right for. Like, look at all of us. Some of us wanted to play, like I wanted to be King Lear when I was much too young. Now I want to be Romeo and I'm much too old. You've got to also be upfront and honest about where you really are, and not just how you perceive you, but how, if you're in the acting world, how do casting people and how does the public and how does the listening, how do they perceive you? Who are you to them? Because that's where your work's coming from. No matter who you think you want to be, you are what you are to the people who hire you. And you have to have some honesty.
But that goes back to Joanna in this minute. Remember recently, okay, you might remember recently when I had a big audition that I knew in my soul and heart I wasn't incredibly suited for it. I don't know why. I should have been. It should have been my job. I'm just putting that on the record right now. But the whole time leading up to it, I knew there was just, it wasn't right. And around the same time, I booked a book that is getting it, and it's about New York. It's by an author that, like, oh my God, I can't believe she actually talked to me. It's getting amazing reviews by like the big time critics. And I got that book. And guess what? I was shattered because I didn't get the book that I wasn't suited for. And I didn't even clock or enjoy or like feel good about the book that I did get. And if I look at it now, the one that got it, because I checked, was better for it. Like, it wasn't me. I think you know when it's you, when it's meant for you.
I think so. I think that, everything happens. And sometimes even the book you didn't get that someone else got, you may have been better for it.
You may have been.
But the decision,
No, I wasn't.
But either way,
if you're emailing Johnny and Joanna at 3 a.m. trying to get reassurance, something's up and you know it.
Yeah, sadly, we're up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry about that.
Well, it's like you woke us up with an email. Damn it, who's ringing the email again? Crazy kids.
Is you can't be all things to all people, and especially with voice casting. I mean, if you sound like the casting person's mother or sister or whatever, or girlfriend, and they don't like that person, you know what? They don't care how good a job you did. They're going to go, oh, no, she's not right. She's not right. It's so self perpetuating. It's kind of whatever that person who makes the final decision is feeling that day can dictate whether you get the job or not. And it does not necessarily mean you weren't perfect for it. It just means that all their other extraneous stuff told them no. It could be that they're a younger author and they're very into social media. And, you have 300 followers. This person over here has 8,000 followers. So they go, oh, I'll go with that person, under the delusion that that person is going to spend all their time pushing some author's book, let's say. So you can't fight stuff like that. If you don't get something, it doesn't mean you were not right for it. In fact, half the time, if you really talk to a casting person, they might have thought you were perfect, but whomever had the final say thought this person was perfect. It's such an arbitrary business. I used to do, out of college, I did casting for a small production company. I did voiceover casting. Most of it was work for documentaries. And I can't tell you how hard it was to keep my personal preferences out. If someone spoke, for instance, up at the end of a word, I'd go, well, maybe they were great. And all that somebody had to say is, don't do that at the end of the word. But you can't help it because you're human. Now, maybe that was the person who would have done a fantastic job, but because of something that bothered me, I pushed them to the side. And that's what happens every day in casting. It's never really personal. It's about what the decision revolves around.
But do you honor, and you said something about the audition. Oh, if I did, you were joking. But this is a serious question for both of you. When you said, oh, well, if they didn't choose me, they made the wrong choice. I know you were joking. But do you honor the work that you get and deem it a success? Do you, because I don't know if this is a male female thing, but or a confidence thing, but some people are really good at, oh, I did this. I'm really proud of it. Whereas some people are like what I just said about that book. The book I got, I was like, oh, well, yeah, I got that, whatever. But the book I didn't get was the important one. How are you at that? Are you good at honoring the things that you do succeed at and the things that you do get and appreciating the jobs you get? Or do you discount them because they were easy pickings and
Oh,
chase after
no,
things you
no.
didn't
I
get?
never, I don't think any of them are easy pickings. I mean, no, if you, especially if it's an audition and you get it, for whatever reason, celebrate it. If it's an audition and you don't get it, let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be. Obviously,
But
this
you celebrate,
one, this one wasn't. So
but
yeah,
you celebrate, you're good at celebrating.
yeah, I mean, there's been a few times where I've wanted an audition, I wanted a book so badly that I've done it and I do the audition and I have somebody like Johnny listen to it and I think, direct me, is there something like, and I don't get it. And then if it's one I really want, I'll go back later and I'll write down the name of the book, just as to remember it. And then every once in a while, I'll go to see who actually got the book instead of me. And to be honest, 9 times out of 10, I go, okay. Every once in a while, I go, they're better. And every once in a while, I go, oh, God, no. They were worse, sorry, from any objective point of view. And I'll even have Johnny go, this is who they picked. So you can't get stuck in that head. You just got to let it go. Let it go. And so occasionally, like I said, the ones that I really wanted and didn't get, those are the ones I check up on. But then I kind of go, okay, it's done. It's gone. It's out of my system.
Because you can use each other as a sound. Johnny tells you it's good, then you know you've done a good job. And if you tell Johnny something was good, that you guys trust each other, that must be a major luxury. So you don't have to email 20 friends going.
I've got a coach sitting in my
Yeah.
house who can listen to
And
something
he's
and
got
tell
a coach.
me, you know, this is this and that's that, or this is great or that isn't. And it's just, even if he wasn't a coach, it's always good to have somebody to bounce something off of.
And there are always times when I
Someone you trust.
when someone gives me an audition, I'm always excited because I thought, wow, they think I always have that young actor, like, oh my God, they want me. I appreciate it. And when I get the job, I'm very excited. When I don't get the job, yeah, I'm not pleased. And there are books I get, or sometimes I'm offered and I do them and I'm like, I don't like that book, but that doesn't mean I'm not honored that they selected that the author and the cast people.
But are you proud of yourself after you've
After my
done the
work,
book? Do you think, oh, I did a good job?
This is going to sound off. I've thought many times, gee, I think I could have done that better after time has passed, but I've never not been proud of the effort I did and the work I did, ever. I'm always excited about what I've done, how I've done it. I appreciate it. And when I'm doing it, I'm quite excited. I think I'll come out and say, man, I don't say I knocked it out of the park. I say, there's some good stuff here. I liked it. Or
You've got your 10-year-old energy.
Yeah. Or I'll come out and say that really blew it. I have to redo it. There are things that you're just, I'm always, I mean, they gave me the job. This is why I decided to become an actor, so that somebody would say, yeah, I want you. That's why yes, of course I'm excited, always excited. And I'm always pleased by the performance in general. I mean, I always think I could do better. I like to think I'll be better tomorrow than I am today. I hope that everybody thinks that the next day you can be better. Now, Sherry Galpert probably already peaked, but the rest of us, that's for you, Sherry. The rest of us, the rest of us have to, keep working. But I really think you need to say, bravo me. You have to, because that keeps you going. It doesn't mean you say that's the best I've ever, we've all been on stage, done a great show and said, oh my God, that was great. And I bet we've done it better too.
Yeah.
The thing about an audio.
And this is why you choose a coach like a Johnny or a Joanna, rather than somebody that says, I'm going to teach you how to make the contacts and be a success. You choose someone that's been there, done that.
That business coach is important too, though.
But once you've done
the one who knows how to make the
But make sure that they are a business coach. Like I would go to Tom Deere in a second and ask, I had him on a call and I feel like I've revamped my whole life after 1 hour.
That's
I
Tom
mean,
Deere.
but you got to make sure they know what they're doing. You got to make sure they're not just
Yep.
a slick suit.
You know, people have always put it to Facebook an ACX scam or something because there's all these scams trying to scam voice. I'm thinking, if you're a really good con artist, I would think voiceover people, particularly audiobook voiceover people, have the least amount of money to take. So your whole target audience is a mistake. Go scam rich
I got a
people.
message.
Yeah.
I got a message from someone on ACX saying, after listening to your work, I'm going to take all your money.
What?
Like, what?
Okay.
That's the kind of message they're sending now. I get weird scam emails from ACX, which I don't even use barely, except
I got an
indie
ACX
writers.
message. I got an ACX message just last week from someone like it's one of those I am the very reverend, Botswana
Oh yeah,
or something who's
I
got some
thought
bad
they only
English.
were offering me the deal.
It's on ACX. So I wrote him back. I said, he said, immediately, please contact. I wrote, immediately, please go fuck yourself. And
Did
he
you
responded. I did.
answer?
Yeah, I said exactly that. Yeah, yeah. Do not pass go. Go right to go. Yeah. I didn't know these guys. Who's gonna think that some weird guy in some country I can't find in a map is gonna give me gazillions of dollars because
Well, someone told me the reason they keep doing it is because sometimes people fall for it.
Oh yeah. Well, if you get one person to fall for it and you get thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
it's made your day or month or week.
Yeah,
whatever.
it's an automatic algorithm sending it out. It's not a human being typing it out. They just send a zillion billion of them. Like the guy that sent you the email saying that you're a pervert and he's got video of all the things you've been watching. Have you gotten that one yet?
Oh
He's
no,
got
I got
video
no
of all
that guy I paid off. Yeah. Yeah. No. He had me dead to right. But the other guy, I didn't know I was part of an algorithm. I wasted a perfectly good fuck off letter. Oh, I feel badly about it.
It's an algorithm. It's they set the computer and it's like a zillion of them go out.
I did not know that. I guess it makes sense.
It still feels sad. It's like I go on big groups sometimes if I'm in a bad mood. This is so stupid. I go on big groups where I know they're going to post something controversial. And then I look at all the comments of all the people that say things that are obnoxious and I sit and block them. On a group, they don't even know who I am. Why am I blocking them? They're never going to find me, but it feels
good.
So
yeah.
Good. Sometimes you just got to get your little
you got to take your little victories wherever you can. Yeah
You guys, I worried that we'd had so many calls we might not have enough to talk about. This has just been a slice of heaven. I am so grateful that you visited and shared such wise energy, actually.
I'm always disappointed that no one actually has a cup of Joe in these things.
We should all have coffee.
It's like 10 o'clock at night here. If I had a cup of espresso or coffee, I'd be doing some serious online shopping at 5 a.m. But yeah, it's an imaginary cup of Joe and 2 super star-studded guests, and I promise I won't beg you to be on another call again, but if you ever had an empty evening, I'd love to have you.
We're always there for you. Don't worry. Yeah, I'm sure
you're like my favorite people, and obnoxiously I tell everyone all the time. And Joan says thanks, and also that one about the Rockettes. Unfortunately, Joan didn't get to be a Rockette because she never made the height requirement. And James says, running down the dream, Tom Petty, everything is a song to me. Marvelous audience, amazing guests. I am so joyful today just for this call.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you. It's been fabulous.
Video
to follow in a few weeks.
Melissa,
bye guys. Bye everyone.
Bye everybody.
Oh, the birdcage. Bye, Mr. Peeves.
Oh. Bye, Daniela. Bye, everybody.
Bye, bye, bye.